Imagine standing in a bustling marketplace, surrounded by the sights and sounds of daily life. Vendors calling out their wares, shoppers haggling over prices, children tugging at their parents' sleeves, each person with their own list of needs and desires. It's easy to get swept up in the energy, but beneath the surface, something fundamental is at play, a problem that has shaped economies and societies for centuries. This is the central economic problem. How do we, as individuals and as societies, manage our unlimited wants with only limited resources at our disposal? Let's start at the heart of it all: scarcity. Scarcity is not just about poverty or deprivation. Rather, it's the universal condition that arises because human wants are infinite, but the means to satisfy them, resources like land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, are finite. No matter where you live or how prosperous your society is, there will always be more things people desire than can be provided. Whether it's food, clothing, education, healthcare, or even leisure time, everyone faces choices about what to prioritize and what to forego. Take a moment to reflect on your own day. Maybe you woke up and decided whether to spend an extra half-hour sleeping or to get up early and exercise. Later, you might have chosen between buying lunch or saving that money for something else. Each of these decisions, small or large, is a response to scarcity. You can't have it all, so you must choose. This necessity of choice is the immediate consequence of scarcity. Because resources are limited, every individual, household, business, and government must decide how best to use what they have. These choices aren't made in a vacuum. They're shaped by information, incentives, constraints, and the perspectives of those involved. Let's dig a little deeper. When we make choices, we're not just picking one thing over another, we're also giving something up. This brings us to opportunity cost, a foundational concept in economics. Opportunity cost is what you sacrifice when you choose one option over the next best alternative. It's not just the explicit money spent, but the value of the foregone alternative. If you choose to spend your evening studying instead of going out with friends, your opportunity cost is the enjoyment and relaxation you would have had with them. The idea of opportunity cost is powerful because it forces us to think critically about the true cost of our decisions. It's not enough to ask, "What will I gain?" We must also ask, "What am I giving up?" This applies at every level, from personal choices to businesses deciding which products to manufacture, to governments allocating budgets for public services. Let's consider consumers first. Every day, consumers face countless choices shaped by their limited incomes. Should you buy a new phone or save for a vacation? Spend on organic groceries or settle for standard produce? Each decision requires weighing benefits against costs, considering not just price tags, but also what is foregone. Consumers gather information about prices, quality, alternatives, and make decisions based on their preferences and priorities. Producers, too, face the central economic problem. Imagine a bakery with a limited amount of flour and workers. The owner must decide whether to bake more bread or pastries, knowing that choosing one means producing less of the other. The opportunity cost of baking more bread is the profit and satisfaction lost from selling fewer pastries. Producers analyze market demand, input costs, and potential profits, making choices that maximize their returns within the constraints of their resources. Governments operate on an even larger scale, but the fundamental issue remains the same. With a limited budget, a government must decide how much to allocate to healthcare, education, infrastructure, defense, and so on. Funding one area often means cutting back elsewhere. Here, the opportunity cost might be measured in terms of societal well-being, economic growth, or public satisfaction. Governments rely on data, expert advice, and political considerations to make these tough choices, always aware that their decisions carry both intended and unintended consequences. It's important to recognize that every decision, no matter how carefully considered, carries risks and trade-offs. Sometimes the full impact of a choice isn't immediately apparent. For example, a government might invest heavily in building roads to boost economic activity, but this could lead to environmental degradation or increased traffic congestion, unintended consequences that must be managed. Similarly, when a company chooses to automate production to cut costs, it may inadvertently contribute to unemployment among its workers, sparking broader social and economic challenges. Even at the individual level, spending all your savings on a luxury item might provide short-term happiness, but leave you unprepared for future emergencies. This complexity is why economic agents, consumers, producers, and governments use available information to guide their decisions. They analyze benefits and costs, anticipate constraints, and try to foresee the ripple effects of their choices. Of course, information is never perfect, and perspectives can differ. What seems like a wise investment to one person may appear risky to another. Cultural values, personal experiences, and social norms all shape how people perceive costs and benefits. Let's take a closer look at how these concepts play out in real-world situations. Suppose a country is rich in natural resources, such as oil or minerals. On the surface, it may seem like scarcity is less of a problem. However, even here, choices must be made. How much of the resource should be extracted now versus left for future generations? Should the wealth generated be spent on immediate consumption or invested in long-term development? The opportunity cost of using up resources today might be a less secure future or lost opportunities for diversification. On an individual level, think about education. Attending university requires a significant investment of time and money. The opportunity cost isn't just the tuition fees, but also the income you could have earned if you had started working right away. Yet, most people accept this cost because they expect the long-term benefits, higher earnings, better job prospects, personal growth, to outweigh the sacrifices made in the present. Businesses constantly grapple with opportunity cost when allocating resources. A tech company, for instance, might have to decide between investing in research for a new product or expanding its existing line. Each path offers potential rewards, but pursuing one means diverting resources from the other. Strategic planning involves assessing market trends, consumer preferences, and competitive pressures to make the best possible choice given the constraints. Governments face perhaps the most visible and contentious trade-offs. Consider the debate over healthcare versus defense spending. Both are vital, but resources are limited. Increasing funding for one often comes at the expense of the other. Policymakers must weigh not just financial costs, but also the broader social implications: public health, national security, voter satisfaction, and long-term sustainability. Scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost are not abstract theories confined to textbooks. They are lived realities, shaping decisions at every level of society. The central economic problem is, at its core, a question of how to make the best use of what we have, knowing that we cannot have everything we want. Let's pause and consider how societies have tried to address this problem over time. Different economic systems, capitalism, socialism, mixed economies, offer different answers to the questions of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom. In a market economy, decisions are largely driven by the interplay of supply and demand, with prices signaling where resources should flow. In a planned economy, central authorities make these decisions, aiming for equitable distribution but sometimes struggling with inefficiency or lack of innovation. No system is perfect, and each reflects different values and priorities. What remains constant, however, is the need to make choices in the face of scarcity. Information plays a crucial role in this process. The more accurate and timely the information available, the better the decisions that can be made. In today's digital age, access to information has expanded dramatically, empowering consumers to compare products, businesses to analyze markets, and governments to model policy outcomes. Yet, information overload and misinformation can also complicate decision-making, highlighting the importance of critical thinking and reliable data. Constraints are another key factor. These can be physical, limited raw materials, financial, budget restrictions, legal, regulations, or even social, cultural norms. Every decision is made within a web of constraints, which can shift over time. For example, technological advances may reduce certain constraints by making production more efficient, while environmental concerns may introduce new ones, such as limits on carbon emissions. Benefits and costs are rarely straightforward. Some are immediate and tangible, like the price of a product or the wages earned from a job. Others are longer term or harder to quantify, such as the satisfaction of learning a new skill or the societal benefits of reduced pollution. Decision-makers must balance short-term gains against long-term objectives, recognizing that not all benefits and costs are easily measured in dollars and cents. Perspectives matter too. What seems like a good choice for one group may be less appealing to another. A factory that provides jobs to a local community may also cause environmental harm, sparking opposition from environmentalists. Governments must navigate these competing perspectives, seeking solutions that balance diverse interests. The consequences of decisions can be far-reaching. Intended consequences are those we plan for, building a school to improve education, for example. Unintended consequences are the side effects, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, that weren't anticipated. For instance, building new roads may ease traffic, but also encourage more driving, leading to increased pollution. Understanding the central economic problem is not just an academic exercise. It's a way of thinking that encourages us to be mindful of our choices, to consider not just what we gain, but also what we give up, and to recognize the broader impacts of our actions. This mindset is valuable not only for economists, but for anyone who wants to make informed, responsible decisions in a world of limited resources. Let's bring this conversation back to the individual level. Each of us, in our daily lives, acts as an economic agent. We make choices, face trade-offs, and deal with scarcity. By being aware of opportunity costs, we can make smarter decisions, choosing the options that align best with our goals and values. Suppose you're considering taking a part-time job while studying. The extra income could help with expenses, but it might also mean less time for coursework or relaxation. Weighing the opportunity cost helps you decide what matters most to you at this stage of your life. Or imagine you're running a small business. You have a limited budget for marketing. Should you invest in online ads, print flyers, or social media campaigns? Each option has potential benefits, but you can't do everything. Understanding opportunity cost allows you to allocate resources where they will have the greatest impact. Even as citizens, we participate in collective decision-making through voting and public discourse. When we support or oppose policies, we're implicitly weighing the trade-offs involved, how resources should be allocated, whose interests should be prioritized, and what kinds of future we want to build. The central economic problem, then, is not something that can be solved once and for all. It's an ongoing challenge, a balancing act that evolves as our wants change, our resources shift, and our knowledge grows. By thinking carefully about scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost, we can navigate this complex landscape more effectively, making decisions that serve not just our own interests, but the greater good. Let's continue this exploration by considering how the central economic problem manifests during times of crisis or rapid change. The COVID-19 pandemic, for example, brought the issue of scarcity into sharp relief. Suddenly, resources like medical supplies, hospital beds, and even basic goods became scarce. Governments had to make urgent decisions about how to allocate these limited resources. Who should get vaccinated first? How to balance public health with economic activity, and how to support those most affected by the crisis. These decisions were fraught with trade-offs. Prioritizing healthcare workers for vaccines meant others had to wait. Lockdowns protected public health but hurt businesses and workers. Every choice carried opportunity costs and sparked debates about fairness, efficiency, and the role of government. Natural disasters, wars, and technological disruptions also force societies to confront the central economic problem in new ways. When resources are destroyed or suddenly become obsolete, choices must be made quickly and often under great uncertainty. The ability to adapt, to gather information, reassess priorities, and make tough decisions is critical in these moments. Innovation can sometimes help ease scarcity, but it never eliminates it entirely. New technologies may make production more efficient or open up new resources, but they also create new wants and needs. The invention of the smartphone, for example, didn't just satisfy existing desires, it created entirely new ones, from apps and accessories to constant connectivity. As our capacity to produce grows, so too does our appetite for more. Education plays a vital role in equipping people to navigate the central economic problem. By teaching students to think critically about scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost, we empower them to make thoughtful decisions in their personal lives and as members of society. Financial literacy, in particular, is essential for understanding how to budget, save, invest, and plan for the future. At the same time, public policy can help manage scarcity and promote more equitable outcomes. Social safety nets, progressive taxation, and investments in public goods like education and infrastructure are ways that governments try to balance competing needs and ensure that the benefits of economic activity are shared more broadly. Yet no policy is without trade-offs. Raising taxes to fund social programs may dampen private investment. Investing in renewable energy may increase costs in the short term, even as it promises long-term environmental benefits. Policymakers must weigh these competing considerations, often in the face of uncertainty and conflicting interests. Globalization has added another layer of complexity to the central economic problem. Resources, goods, and information now flow across borders more freely than ever before. This has created new opportunities for growth and collaboration, but also new challenges in managing scarcity and distributing benefits. Decisions made in one part of the world can have ripple effects elsewhere, highlighting the interconnectedness of our choices. Environmental concerns are increasingly central to the economic problem. The Earth's resources are not just limited, they are also vulnerable to overuse and degradation. Climate change, deforestation, and loss of biodiversity all underscore the need to consider long-term opportunity costs, not just immediate gains. Sustainable development seeks to balance present needs with the rights of future generations, reminding us that the choices we make today shape the world of tomorrow. In conclusion, the central economic problem of unlimited wants and limited resources is a defining feature of human existence. It shapes the way we live, work, and interact with one another. By understanding the concepts of scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost, we gain valuable tools for making better decisions, whether as consumers, producers, or policymakers. Every choice we make is an exercise in prioritization, a recognition that we cannot have everything we desire. By thinking carefully about what we give up as well as what we gain, we can make choices that reflect our values and aspirations. And by considering the broader impacts of our decisions, we can help build societies that are not only prosperous, but also fair and sustainable. As you go about your day, remember that every decision, big or small, is a response to the central economic problem. Whether you're deciding what to have for lunch, how to spend your time, or which policies to support, you are participating in the ongoing story of how societies manage scarcity. By staying informed, weighing trade-offs, and considering both intended and unintended consequences, you contribute to a more thoughtful and resilient world.